You are listening to Viewpoints from Place Cloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
We're standing on the corner of Madeira Road and Oakdale Road in Streatham, in the back streets behind Streatham Station. There's a large triangular space here on the corner with post-war flats behind it, a large tree in the middle, a bit of a hump. It's a strange kind of empty space with no apparent purpose to it. But in fact, this is a negative impression of the church that used to be here. There was a church on this site, St Anselm's Coventry Park, until the Second World War, when it was destroyed during bombing. So there is still a St Anselm's church, a Catholic church in Tooting-Bec. And St Anselm was an 11th century Archbishop of Canterbury. He lived at Le Bec-Éloire Monastery in Normandy. And this is where Tooting-Bec takes its name via the joint ownership of land between the monastery there and land in South London after the Normans arrived in Britain. So while Tooting-Bec has St Anselm still and the link all the way back to Normandy, the Anglican version here has gone. It was built as a chapel to Emmanuel Church, which is next to Streatham Common, in 1882. So it was for the growing Coventry Park estate, which is upper middle class Victorian semi-detached houses with room for servants above. And this was really a centre for the area. But 20 years later, it was still described as unfinished, and apparently there were temporary walls still holding up one side of the nave. There don't appear to be any surviving images of the church either. It's as though it was never here in the first place. But the post-war flats behind the sites here are called St Anselm's Court, which is the only suggestion there was anything like this here. I mean, Streatham, like much of London, is full of these sorts of vanishing places, prominent buildings that were lost to bombs or sometimes to fires, which melt away from living memory and just leave oblique traces that you may be able to identify with a bit of research. And this road junction does look as though it's meant for something grander. Oakdale Road is an ordinary residential street. It widens out suddenly and quite grandly where it meets Madeira Road. There's suddenly a lot of space here. And this would have been the appropriate setting for a church, but less so for a fenced area of grassed, hoggy land that I've never seen anybody use. The humps may well conceal rubble from the demolished church. The missing building makes sense at the side, though, and its absence in a way mirrors the presence that it had here before. And the space still has some power, more so than the Victorian architect of the church, a man called R.J. Withers, to conjure up a sense of presence and to feed the imagination.